And we are live. Well,
Bravo on that opening, though, dude. That was amazing.
do you
That was
even know,
amazing.
do you even know what music I used for that? Do you guys figure out what track I used?
You went with Skyrim, didn't you?
It's not Skyrim, actually.
No?
It's Oblivion. But you're right. It was same series. It was Elder Scrolls 4. It's when they're going on to the world. That was that.
Right on.
So.
Right on.
So House of the Dragon has begun, and if you're a book fan of Song of Ice and Fire, well, there was a lot of Easter eggs in this episode, and there was a freaking bombshell at the end of this episode. So
yes, there was.
But without further ado, welcome. I am Brian of House Nerdporio. I am the keeper of the wings and the creator of cringe, and with me is my co-host for Better Call Saul. Prophet of the Dragon. What is your title? Is it Chief Prognosticator? What are you?
Chief Prognosticator of the Seven Kingdoms. Is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me.
Are you defender of any titles or
defender of I don't know, reason?
And we got Salty here. Salty, what's up, Salty? What's your title again? I forgot, even though I wrote it down.
That was long. It took me a while to read it, but it was Defender of Tolkien and Keeper of the Fire of Fandom or something like that. So yeah, I put it like right here. I'm going to put that on a T-shirt because it looks good. Thank you for having me here, Brian.
And you're welcome. Thanks for being here. And for the first time on this channel, we have Pips. I believe you're a child of light, aren't you? You're one of the children of light, aren't you? And I'm not even a big Wheel of Time guy, but I know about that.
Yep, that is true. That is true. We go by the slang term though, going by white cloaks. But
that's what the outsiders call you. You guys call yourselves the children of light.
We've actually claimed it. We're trying to bring it back. We're trying to reclaim that word. Any fans of Clerks might get what we're going for.
I just love how he's like, you are a child of light, are you not?
I know. I don't think I fit either half of that sentence. But first time being on. Thank you so much for having me on. Really pumped to go through this with you guys.
Yeah.
So you're the child of light. What do you do? I forgot what I wrote on my screen. What do you do?
I think something about Mountain the World.
Oh, okay.
Here, it'll make more sense. My horse avatar.
He is a horse after all.
From straight from the mouth of Mary Mazdor, where the sun sets in the east and rises in the west, and that's only then when Daenerys Targaryen can give birth to a child. So, without further ado, what did you guys think of this episode? I actually kind of liked it. So let's hear your thoughts.
How do you want to go? You just want to go around the horn?
Yeah, let's go around the horn. We'll start with Salty.
My mind was blown. We stopped about every 20 minutes. Steve and I watched it together. And I've never done this before. I didn't have anybody to watch Wheel of Time with. And to watch this show, which is not a show that I really cared about, to be honest with you, to watch it and to then have this reaction of complete immersion. And I never watched 1 minute of HBO's Game of Thrones. I've heard all about it from other YouTubers. I read the books. But to be immersed in this world and to go in without, having experienced what season 7 and 8 were just heard about it secondhand, I got to tell you guys, I think this show just killed the Rings of Power before it even came out. And I make that assertion knowing fully well what I'm saying, but that this show had me. It had me from the moment it started. I cared about this world. I cared about these characters. I hated when certain people died. I wasn't quite sure who to root for, but this was the fantasy show that I probably wanted for 20 years. And I'll stop talking and let somebody else go.
Well, we'll have Prophet next. What was your thoughts? Yeah.
Well, like you said, I haven't read Fire and Blood. I've read part of Game of Thrones, and I did watch all the Game of Thrones. So I am one of the burned. One of the people that just got absolutely. If I had a YouTube channel at that point, I'd probably have 200,000 subs because I would have killed some people live on air. But so I went into this not expecting much. Now, some of the things, like I said, we watched it together. Some of the things I said beforehand was at least the costuming looks good, the CGI look good. So hopefully, at least we get some of that, right? And I found myself completely immersed in it. I don't know the subject, like I don't know I don't know the content from the books of it, but the acting was on point. Matt Smith was awesome. The guy that played Viserys was awesome. The freaking the jousting. I love the whole. I can't say that I didn't like any of it. I liked the whole thing. I just did.
It's the first show in forever where the casting wasn't annoyingly obvious. It was just a show with really good actors acting really well in a story, in like a real story.
Yep,
that's
right.
Boom.
Well, I mean, one of the first scenes is them sitting down and talking about council shit and like having an actual conversation that was like meaningful. It's like where are we? So I liked it.
And that's one of the things that really drove the books. Like, in order for us to like find out, get like exposition dumps, information, we learned a lot about it, especially in Storm of Swords, from the High Council meetings, from Tyrion and Tywin Lannister's conversation they had about various things going on in the realm. So a lot of things that we don't see, because once again, Song of Ice and Fire is point of view based. So there's a lot of there could be a lot of unreliable narrations, and there's a lot of rumors and stuff, information that could be false. But usually the stuff that's usually reported in the council chambers are usually true. Sometimes. But yeah, I thought we had not just one, but we had like maybe 3 or 4 council chambers, and the council chamber looked freaking amazing with the flame, with the fiery.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, I want that chandelier in my house. I don't care if it burns the house down. It's
the way they depicted. You saw the beginning. You know how awesome the beginning looked, where they showed. Good. I'm like, for a second, I was like, where is this? I'm like, it's Harrenhal. Remember Harrenhal from season 2?
Yeah, as soon as they said Harrenhal, I'm like, wow, that looks really good. And then like I said it to Salty a few times. I was blown. There were fucking people. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. There were people around. World. Yeah. There were people everywhere. I'm like, holy moly, there's people here.
Yeah.
There's people living here.
Yeah.
So
it really
we got to go with Pips.
It literally cut the throat. It literally cut the throat of Wheel of Time. Not that it was already living, but it showed every single thing. Those of us who watched Wheel of Time, we complained about. They must have heard us, because they had it all in this series. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, they have the experience. They worked on Game of Thrones, and I mean, as much as I dislike season 8 and few episodes of season 7, I thought the way the costumes have been made, the set pieces, the CGI, especially with the dragons, everything looked freaking great. I mean, and I've seen the Rings of Power trailer, and that does not look great. No, that doesn't even measure up to
it's a
20 years ago. Yeah,
it's a Frankenstein,
and they spent billions because they hired probably inexperienced people who don't know what they don't have the experience that the same people that they're doing are doing the HBO shows are. So
20-something producers with their own agenda will do that to your show,
Yeah, and so what about you, Pips?
Yeah, so I have a couple of thoughts. One, I'll say that obviously Wheel of Time was brought up. Watching the Wheel of Time made me want to watch the books, or want to reread the books, because of how terrible it was, and I needed like the palate cleanse. I needed to go back and like remind myself of how good the source material was to like appreciate how much they screwed it up, right? Yeah. Whereas watching this, I was like, damn, I need to reread Game of Thrones because this is good. I was like, I am loving this.
Just the fact that the king got stabbed from the sword, from the Iron Throne. I mean, that's a book reference. That's
See that we caught that. I haven't read anything in a long time, but I saw it. I'm like, that's obviously foreshadowing for something. I'm not sure what, but we'll get there, right? So I was paying very close attention.
We didn't talk to one another. We just sat there in silence because Steve and I watched this together the whole hour and how many minutes it was.
Long.
Yeah.
I had
like 2 hours.
Time.
And the only time we talked to, and I was like, stop. We got to talk about this. Yeah. Because it's like, what do you think? What do you think? Oh God, don't let this get woke. Don't let it be intersectional. It never happened. We just were like, dude, did you see that? Did you see this? Can you believe that? Oh my God, rewind that. And it's like,
Yeah.
Well,
So
you
what
know?
Go ahead, Pips.
what
Pips,
Prophet
go
was
ahead.
saying there about like the fact he was paying attention. So my other kind of
Yeah.
points would be that um, this is one of the first shows. I've said this before that like I think shows nowadays are made for the audience that's glued to their phone and only halfway paying attention to the TV, right? And they do that because, well, it's a bad show, so I'm going to pay attention
Yeah.
to my phone. And because I'm on my phone, you don't need to make a
Yeah.
good show, right?
Yeah.
This show I was paying attention to. The only time I pulled out my
Oh,
phone was I was like,
God.
that's a great actor. Where the hell have I seen that guy before, right?
Yes!
It was to look something up about the show.
I looked
right?
at my
Like-
phone 1 second because Nerdporial
Yes.
said something on like about the show, and I missed something. And Steve's like, "Salty, you just missed something," and we
Yeah.
rewound it. And I was like, "Dude!" And it's like,
Yeah.
this is
And you
this is
paused
not an
it.
order off Amazon show. This is park your
Yes.
ass in front of the show and watch it show. Really?
Yeah, you had to pause it if you were going to look away because stuff was happening, right?
Yeah.
And then my last point would probably be that this world seemed very lived in. You guys brought this stuff up about it was gritty and sort of like raw, but in like a way that didn't seem like it was trying to be that way. It just seemed very natural and organic. And one of the problems I have with Easter eggs is I think that it's when production companies try to like dangle keys in front of your head, in front of your eyes, when they don't actually, when they're not willing to put in the effort to like show you the world. So they just, ooh, shiny, pay attention to this. Don't pay attention to the background.
Yeah.
This show, it had some Easter eggs, but those Easter eggs just drew attention to the fact that the world around the Easter egg was correct.
Yeah.
And the promo stuff was not the best stuff. What they
Yes.
showed and they put out there was nothing compared to the show. It wasn't the best
Under promise, over deliver.
I mean, literally, I went in.
I'd rather have
expecting, like,
that.
I'm going to get like
than
Wonder Bread,
overpromising.
and instead I get like a banquet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
You got a
Well,
you got a crispy baguette with warm butter made in the middle.
yeah.
That's how
And some
that's how
hot
George
chicken.
that's how George describes his food. I mean, I'm not going to make a knock at his weight, but like he describes food. Every time he describes food in his books, I get hungry. Like he talks about warm bread. He talks about
And I want to say I am well
fried
aware.
pies.
I'm well aware of where this all could be going. Okay, I've been burned. We've all been burned, but I am not right now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let it take away from one great hour of TV that I just watched. It's probably the greatest hour of TV I've watched in a long time.
And I said the same thing. It's probably one of the best in 20 years. And I did not
My wife
expect
was
that.
loving it.
I was
Never read the
dreading
book.
watching this show. I was dreading watching this show. And all of a sudden I'm like, is this really happening? Like, am I actually loving this?
Yeah.
There's
more George in this.
I just, and the other thing too is Matt Smith in the promo stuff was kind of a douche. Let's be honest about it, right? And in this show, holy cow! I looked at Matt Smith.
Some depth to it.
I looked at Matt Smith, and for the first time since Doctor Who, I didn't go, "Oh, look, it's Matt Smith who played Doctor Who." I went with it's Matt Smith, but I didn't see Matt Smith anymore.
You saw Damon. You saw Damon Targaryen.
And I know we're going to get into it. One of the things we talked about was without a lot of effort, with just good writing, you already know there's conflicts between certain characters.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Just with a few things, and this, I haven't read any of this, so I'm going in cold on purpose. I don't know the source material for this, but you can immediately know this person doesn't like this person, and it's done in a second, and they trust you to understand that.
Yeah, the combination of character directing and the actors themselves, like you could see like two people would just look at each other and you were like, dude, that is some hatred right there.
Yes.
And it had payoffs for those, right? So like you saw the conflict between Hightower and Damon, and then you see in the lists and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. I'm assuming are we gonna do this Better Call Saul style? Did you take notes or we just wrap it, buddy? What do you think?
I did.
Because I figure we'll get to all this stuff, but
Brian, check private chat real quick. Just
I did.
Okay, Roger that. Anyone?
Just waiting for the conversation to dwindle down so I can, say hello.
Oh,
to
no.
There's
There's a new one. That's why I brought it up. So, yeah. Sorry to derail things. It's just,
Dude, I can see your nose hair from there. What are you doing?
Me or him?
Dude,
I have my monitor here.
Look.
No, I wasn't. It wasn't that first message. It was the second message, and we can't. Yeah, well, never mind. Just never mind.
Yeah. So so what I'm going to do is so before I want to say hello to the chat. Let's see who's here. So we got member. We got Dan Crane is a member. Welcome. Been on my Better Call Saul streams.
Yes, sir.
We have some weirdo named Prophet. I don't know who that is.
Bye, guys.
Wakizashi's Tea House is here. What's up, Gray?
Hail,
Gray.
Gray.
We got Daniel. What's up, Daniel? We got Harley Dave, the man who mounts the world.
Yeah, there you go.
And we have our fantasy expert right here, the Tad that shouldn't be. We got number one. We
Tom
have a
Forsyth
Punkwaddle. We have a
too.
puppet in the chat.
Puppet.
Hail Punkwaddle. Hail Punkwaddle.
And we have Lyle. We have Lyle Hammock. Not Lyle from Better Call Saul, but we have Lyle Hammock.
The irony of Lyle Hammock's stance
I know.
on this. Can I just say that this is a man who's been very positive about the Rings of Power for about a year. Now seeing this, it's like, Lyle, we're all allowed to like different things, and I'm not saying I'm right and you're wrong, but I'm kind of saying I'm right and you're wrong. I'm just gonna do that.
We got Atwood is here. What's up, Atwood? And let's see, we have Press Fee for Balafire. Oh, I have this is the first time on my channel. Well, welcome.
White Cloak.
Yeah,
I wish I could
she's
see
one of our guests.
Oh, okay. I wish I could see it to judge it. I've read the book several times. Which one? Fire and Blood or Song of Ice and Fire?
All of them.
Both.
She's a great lady and a former race car driver. Cool chick.
Okay. There you go.
Nice. Yeah.
Look at Zach.
We got the wild thing. We have the wild thing himself right here. Zax is here, and he makes my heart sing.
Oh, yeah, baby.
And we got Inferter. What's up, Inferter?
Hail.
We got Tom Forsyth from my Better Call Saul streams.
Tom.
Welcome. Thanks for coming back.
Sweet.
Predict it will be good until the final.
I'll take it. I'll take a season of really good television. I just sat through this Sandman, and they released 2 more episodes over this weekend. So
has anyone seen those?
Yes, I saw them.
Oh,
I will be talking about them with Purple Valkyrie. So
I'll have to tune in. You guys did really good coverage.
And we got Nerdscape here. What's up, Nerdscape?
Yeah.
By the way, Lyle gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
See, I don't know. I'm seeing some of the ratings out here. I think people. I don't know. That's not what I would give it. I'll just put it out there.
Not episode 1. I would give episode 1. I would give it an 8.5.
Yeah,
I would. Like conservatively.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to be good and leave out everything that possibly could happen down the line, because I am well aware next episode it could be Trash Fire City.
Oh yeah, it could be Women's Center, United Nations, multicultural diversity. Hell, it could be. But
the next episode is called The Rogue Prince, and that's based off of a short story George wrote, which is what got kind of compiled in into Fire and Blood. So
it's about Viserys?
It's gonna be about Prince Damon. So next episode's a Rogue Prince is gonna be Prince Damon. It's gonna be
I like him a lot.
Winner.
I like him a lot, dude. I like him a lot. He's crazy. He's dark crazy. I like him a lot.
We'll get into it. So we have Leia Rose. What's up, Leia?
Hey,
we have Nosferatu. He says, "Look at that clickbait sexy panel here."
That's right. Check out Nerdporial's OnlyFans when you're done here. That's all I'm gonna say.
God!
Were you trying to say something, Pips? I thought you were trying to say something.
No.
And we got Trip here. I think this is my first time
talking over each other.
What's up, Trip?
She's a White Cloak as well.
And
we brought a few.
I already have a super chat. Wow, from Daniel for $5. I am so fascinated because I think I am even more jaded than Salty Texas C. If he actually enjoyed the thing, my world is a bit blown right now.
Dude,
Daniel's recent video. Anyone who hasn't seen that was great.
I have to see it. I'll have to.
It was a stab to the throat of some of these things we've seen recently, like brutal.
I don't know. Like we said a few times, me and Salty watched it together. We may have to clip it out because it's just like some of the reactions we had to some of the stuff, like in a positive way. It was so refreshing. We're like, whoa, what the fuck just happened?
Like literally, I literally was like, are you believing what we're seeing? Like,
and the hate farmers themselves like something. Say
it's
it isn't so.
I'm feeling. What is this thing I'm feeling? Is it joy and entertainment?
Wait a minute. There's a hero's journey. There's a 3-act play. The characters are believable. It's not 20 minutes of exposition. It's not just tell and don't show.
from
What
a
am I
Game of
supposed to
Thrones
do?
thing? Oh my god!
Man, the show aspect of it was phenomenal. By the way, some of the just like the shots, the way that they had
We were talking
a
about
character
that.
listening in on something that was going on, like
Yeah.
you're just like, wow, I'm listening to
Yeah.
one dialogue, I'm seeing something else, and I'm like feeling like something brewing in the background. So
That's
much
right.
stuff was happening simultaneously that you're like, oh,
Yeah.
this is what professional freaking screenwriting looks like.
And the last thing that I said to Steve was this show, it literally slit the throat of the Rings of Power. Everything we've seen of the Rings of Power, this show is the absolute opposite of. That's all I'm gonna say. And this Rings of Power is dead for a lot of reasons, but this show literally, it's like it was driving down the road and the show ran into it at 70 miles an hour, and it was an instantaneous kill.
Rings
It's
of
still
Power
twitching.
ran a red.
Still twitching. Yeah,
That semi truck came
and it
through.
kept going. Didn't even notice. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
you guys ready? So before
Yes,
we
ready.
get into the breakdown, after the breakdown, I promised an individual a double secret guest afterwards would come on to have a little chat and talk about his take. And from what I'm seeing, his take is unique. I'll say unique. So we'll get to we'll get to that. So let's get into the breakdown right now. So Heir of the Dragon, first episode, the beginning. They had a nice little prologue. What do we see? It made me think of Galadriel from Lord of the Rings, like kind of reciting like the history of or the background of everything. So I got that Lord of the Rings vibe. But instead of seeing a battle, we see a major council meeting between King Jaehaerys, who is the father, or not the father, but like an uncle of Viserys and what was her name? Rhaenys, I think her name. The queen who never was Rhaenys. She's the wife of Corlys Velaryon.
Right.
So they're basically making. So the lords all had to vote on who they wanted as the new king, and they all chose Viserys. So Viserys was made the heir of Jaehaerys. So we find out that this takes place roughly 100 years after the conquest. So what they do is, so the moment that Aegon the Conqueror got crowned is when they begin the timeline. So they call it, so that the timeline's called AC, or after the conquest. Kind of like with Star Wars, with before the Battle of Yavin and after the Battle of Yavin, same idea roughly. So this is about 100. So the prologue takes place about 182 years before, or I'm not even sure exactly what year that was, but when we get to the present, we find out it's 172 years before. It's 172 years before I think Daenerys was born, and the death of the Mad King. So the death of the Mad King happened first, and then Daenerys I think was born a few months later. So she was still in womb. So her and her mother and her brother, the one that's you don't wake the dragon, he's also named Viserys. They get spirited away to Dragonstone, and then shortly after that they get the mother dies in childbirth, and it's fucked up. But like there's one story where he's like the Mad King's beating or doing like very violent like sexual stuff, and this is a Jaime Lannister chapter in the books, and there was a point where he wanted to like protect her, and the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard was like, that's the one person we cannot protect. We cannot protect her from him. And it's just it just made me think of that. So but we're 172 years before Daenerys and the Mad King. And and they're like, only thing that could tear down the House of the Dragon as well, is itself. And I literally knew they were going to say that. I literally said it at the same time in unison with I forget the name of the actress that plays the adult Rhaenyra. So what we see in this episode, we see the child or the younger Rhaenyra. We're going to eventually get to the older Rhaenyra. So that was the prologue. So now we're.
Can I just interrupt? Lyle Hammock says, "Hey, Salty, I wouldn't say it killed Rings of Power yet. Jumping the gun there a little. No, I'm not, Lyle. I'm not."
You guys argue that to death.
This is serious. This is serious. There's no irony. I don't want it to be this way, Lyle, but it's over.
Hey, Steve, look who's here.
It's over.
I saw. I just said something in chat to him.
No.
So yeah, he's never watched Game of Thrones, and do not watch Game of Thrones. I mean, if you're gonna watch Game of Thrones, end it at season 6 and pretend everybody lived happily
Just
ever
watch
after.
season 1. You're fine. Season 1. Season 1's good.
I lucked out with Game of
Season
Thrones.
was better than
I think
season 1.
I think I was deployed at the time that season 7 or 8 came out, and I came back, and everybody was like, "Don't," and I was like,
Okay.
"Got it."
Oh, really? You never
Look it
watched
out, Fred.
You never watched the last 2 seasons?
I don't think so. No, I definitely didn't watch
Good
the last
work.
one, and I
Good work.
didn't watch the second to last.
Well done.
I wish I could unsee. I wish I could
Yes.
unsee
Yes.
that
Came
last
back
season.
and I got the
that
hookup
was
for a
so.
friend.
Oh,
Yes. Oh man. So I don't know. That's what makes this more amazing to me, is that had that all stacked in my mind against it, and I'm like, wow, okay, I'm good right now. Let's see where we go.
like
I'm
I didn't
happy.
like if they would have set up the fact that Arya could fly out of nowhere and just kill the not the Mad King, the
Dude,
Night King. Then I mean I probably would have been okay with it, but she can't fly even though she's an assassin.
She's also not invisible. But let's not go down. We could probably talk for another 15 hours about that.
I know it's
You guys are discounting.
You're just bigots. You guys are just bigots. That's
All right,
you're just
all
afraid
right,
of
yeah.
strong female characters. Oh my
She
god.
switched
got-
the knife from one hand to the other. What more do you guys want?
We got Robbie Gee here as well. What's up, Robbie Gee? R.I.P. Lalo from Berkeley.
You might have missed a super sticker. Just not to be critical.
And Salty Texas C sends a super sticker for $2. Thank you, Salty. Thank you, Corey. You're awesome.
It's a Shibu Inu with hearts, Brian. Because I heart Nerdporeal.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Oh my god.
I feel love now.
It's a bromance. It's a bromance with a Bears fan. It's forbidden fruit.
Okay, so now we're in the 9th year of Viserys the First, and like I said, so we see some dragonflight, and the dragonflight looked really good. I loved how it looked. It looked better than
Excellent.
Sorry, I have to bring up freaking season 8 again, especially when you couldn't see anything in that battle. You know, you couldn't see the dragons fighting each other because of the storm and the lack of light. Sorry.
Well, I liked how the dragons looked different too. They weren't all the same. They all had sort of different, not just the colors, but different variations to them.
Yeah, I thought. I honestly, I said this. I made a mistake. I thought Balerion the Dread, which was the black dragon that Aegon the Conqueror rid on, and was one of the oldest dragons alive. Like Balerion, and we learned. You guys already know this from the episode, but Balerion was around when Valeria was still, at the height of it, was still in power.
Yeah.
So Targaryens, like the Targaryens started settling. They took all their dragons, they took all their assets and moved it over to Dragonstone because one of the daughters of this guy, Lord Aenar, saw a vision of the doom of Valeria, which is basically the equivalent to, the sinking of Atlantis or the sinking of the Numenor sink. I forget. I have not read.
I think it did, didn't it? I don't know.
Yes.
I'm far from an expert.
It was destroyed.
Okay,
It was destroyed.
so
think
it's
it's
the
sunk in
same idea. So same trope in fantasy or whatever. So Valeria gets destroyed, and the Targaryens are basically all that's left of the Dragon Lords. And they weren't even the best. They weren't even the highest Dragon Lords, but they were higher than like all the other. There's other Valerians, like the Valerians, that like the Corlys that we meet. The sea snake. They're cousins of the Targaryens. Why does he have a different complexion? Don't know. Maybe his mother or father were from the Summer Isles, because that's canon.
It didn't really bother me. Like, it didn't take me.
No, it didn't bother me at all because he wasn't going. After all,
I actually enjoyed it.
My melanin content is different, and I'm here for representation.
Yeah. No, he was making a lot of. Yeah, he was making.
He
a lot
was
of sense.
a great actor.
Yes.
He gave a great performance, and he just happened to be a certain race. It's a novel concept.
There was no point during any of his scenes where I was seeing the actor and not the character, which is I think
liked him.
That's the question you have to ask. Yeah,
I liked him.
Yep.
Brian, what did you think of this episode, dude? I mean, you heard us, but what did you think about this overall?
I thought. There were some issues, and some people in the chat pointed them out. I felt like this was a great. I mean, this had George's prints all over it. Like there was a lot of world building, a lot of Easter eggs that were put in, and the dialogue felt, even though there's no dialogue for Fire and Blood, like there's very little in terms of dialogue, that it felt like I was listening to, I felt like I was hearing dialogue from A Song of Ice and Fire.
Yes.
And for that, I'm impressed. I was worried
Wow.
I was going to hear freaking 21st century vernacular.
Yes.
I was like, if I heard the word dude said once, I would freaking throw the notebook up.
They were speaking Valerian too. Wasn't
That's
that what they
it.
were speaking?
Yes.
Yeah.
They had to create the Valerian language. They had to create the Dothraki language, because originally George didn't have language like Tolkien did. So they hired someone to create the language, and it's beautiful. I'll be honest. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that they say is Valar Morghulis and Valar Dohaeris. That's the only thing, and maybe there's a few other words that are said, but
yeah.
I mean, the show was responsible for the language, not the books. So
there were points when Steve and I were watching it, and I said, I don't see any 2022 in this show.
No, it's you feel like you're in the world of Westeros, and that's what people want. That's what people want. People want to immerse themselves in the fantasy world.
In the Gray, you're right. The jousting scenes were brutal. It was
so good.
And the way they were laid over top of the other scenes was, I thought, really well done. Like shockingly
between
well
one and we'll get to that. So
all right, where are we at? Sorry.
So we find out, we see the dragon pit, and we see that there's dragon tamers or whatever, I forget what they call them,
handlers or something, right?
And Rhaenyra is the one that was riding the dragon. So we find out that the guy that Graham McTavish plays, he's Sir Harold Westerling. He is the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, and the Kingsguard are the 9 knights that are sworn to protect the king at all times. So, like in the original, in Game of Thrones season 1, it was Barristan Selmy who was the Lord Commander, and they did him dirty. And I'm not going to even get into that, because he's a major player in Dance with Dragons. Especially, he's the one that takes over Meereen after Daenerys flies off with Drogon. So that pissed me off, but that's beside the point. So Graham McTavish plays Sir Harold Westerling. And another thing I thought was interesting was they name drop a lot of families that were mentioned in the books, but were never mentioned in the show. Westerling was the character in Westerling was the family of the wife that Robb Stark marries in the books, Jane Westerling. And in the show, they had some girl who was played by Charlie Chaplin's great granddaughter, and
is that who she was?
Her name was Talissa from Volantis, I believe. So they made her They made her from the 9 free cities, But they had the fact that they had Westerling in here was a very George. George made sure that they put this one in. So George had a lot of more influence on this than he did with Dan and Dave. So Sir Harold Westerling has her taken to back to the Red Keep, and we find out that Rhaenyra and the Hand of the King's daughter, Alicent Hightower, are friends. And here's the thing, though. Those two are not going to be friends forever.
No.
If you're familiar with the source material, know this to be true.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Can I ask a question about the names? So I saw an article like the day before yesterday that, I don't know, maybe it was trying to prep for not great things from this show. It was reasons the show is going to struggle. And it brought up how there's so many characters that have the same or similar sounding names.
Yeah.
So from the chat, I mean, it seems like everybody here seems to like the books in the series, but I wonder if anyone struggled with that at all. I felt like I did not at all. I feel like they did a really good job of getting over that hurdle, which admittedly I think is a hurdle in literature, but I thought they crushed it.
It's like how it is in history. Look at all the European kings. I mean, how many King Louis in France are there? There's Louis the 14th, the Sun King. There's Louis the 16th, the one that married Marie Antoinette, and because he married her, he got his head cut off. Oh wait,
and King James, Charles, James. Yes. Look at the English monarchy. You can't keep them straight.
George,
Henry's, Harry's, all of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Pips, I think what they did is they prepared all of those committed Wheel of Time fans who just loved season 1 for the shock of their lives that this was not going to be the masterpiece of television that Rafe Judkins' Wheel of Time was, that this was going to be something else. It's insane. I really think it's baffling. It's like they're apologizing for you having to pay attention to a
Yeah.
complex show, and it's insane. It's insane.
Which, yeah, I brought that up before. Like it was a nice change to be so engaged by something that you had to pay attention, and then getting
Yes.
rewarded for it. Like actually feeling like you were getting a payoff because you weren't, sitting and playing games on your phone, right? Which is,
Yeah.
man, if you can watch some of modern television without turning half your brain onto something else, like good luck for you, I guess. I mean, good on you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So let's keep going. So we get back to
your chat is on fire, dude. I'm just gonna say that.
Why? What happened?
We got Jeff P dropping bombs. He says, "I'm only here to see all the professionals in the comments tell us all how it should have been done." Wow. Balefire for those of you in the Robert Jordan world. Savage.
Oh, okay. There we go. All right, so let's keep this going. So so Rhaenyra gets back to the Red Keep, and we meet her mother, Queen Emma. At least that's how I think they pronounce it, Queen Emma. And we see that she's very pregnant with her and Viserys's next child.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see how this turns out. And if you know the source material, you know. So we find out that she has a nice talk with her mother. And Rhaenyra or Emma is basically saying, part of being a queen is you're responsible for taking care of bearing the children, and she's like, and Rhaenyra's like, no, I want to be a soldier, I want to fight, I'm the tomboy, and her mother's like, well, this is a different type of battle. I thought that was an interesting little
it was
because what she fought was what she saw. Oh boy, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
But I don't know. That was the only sort of part where, like, especially because it was close to the beginning. I'm like, oh, is this where we're making this left turn? And it's like, nope. It was only just a little thing, little blip, and it was fine in context afterwards. After the whole thing, I think.
I agree. So so we find out that dragons have a particular smell. And they're like, you stink. You smell a dragon. Kind of like, horse. You smell a horse. Well, you smell a dragon this time. Yeah. Take a bath. And she doesn't take a bath. She goes straight to the king's council chambers. They're having a council meeting, and we find out that Rhaenyra is actually the cupbearer, and she was late because she was screwing off with flying the dragon. And we got to hear some interesting little tidbits about the council meeting. I don't know if they're going to pay off because, a lot of the stuff is, it's just meandering, reports, because they have to report on everything that's going on in the Seven Kingdoms. And we find out about this triarchy that's been forming, and they discuss this guy named Crabfeeder from the Free Cities who's causing a ruckus in the Stepstones or whatever. Stepstones are like they're like a little set of isles, like to the northeast or the northeast of the southern part of the kingdom. So north of like King's Landing, but like south of like, the north itself, because you don't want to go north. You don't want to go really far north. You go in the ocean, you go in the narrow sea or they call it the shivering sea up north. You're fucked. You're fucked, basically. I mean, the island of Skagos, which is up there in the north, is full of cannibals. That's how hard it is. And that's basically where Lord Davos Seaworth is supposed to go to pick up Rick and Stark in the next book, which I don't think we'll ever see because certain author won't ever finish his book. So yeah, there's my jab at George right here. So
it's too busy with this.
But we find out the council chambers has we have obviously King Viserys himself. We have Corlys Velaryon. We have of course they talk about Prince Daemon. He's absent from the thing. And then we have Lord Beesbury. We have the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower, and I never got the Grand Maester's name. I'm assuming.
I don't know that they said it, to be honest.
I'm sure he has a name.
I'm sure he does, but yeah, I don't know that they said it.
Yeah, and I don't. There was a Grand Maester, and I think there was another guy, and I forget. I think it was I don't know if it was a Baratheon guy or something there, but whatever. But the big thing that they discuss is the Heir tournament. So they're going to have a tournament in honor of the child being born.
Right.
And that's the thing. They like the kings of Westeros will use like a momentary occasion as an excuse to throw a tourney for people to get together, spend money, whatever. They did something for Eddard Stark when in season 1 or in the first book, and he's like you don't have to do this, and Robert Baratheon's like, yes we do. Yes we do. We're gonna drink and we're gonna eat and we're gonna watch people die, or we're gonna watch people get bloodied up. Ned Stark Ned Stark's just like, whatever, I don't give a shit about this.
See a horse cleaved in two too, but sorry.
Yeah, remember in season 1 when the mountain cuts off the horse's head? Remember that? That was actually the first scene I ever saw of Game of Thrones. I didn't even know what the hell this show was. I was playing Skyrim one day, and I decided to switch on to HBO just for the hell of it, because I was just sick of playing Skyrim. And I see Sean Bean wearing it looked like he was in a medieval show. Like, what is this, a historical show? Then I see I see a jousting match, and I see a guy cutting off this big knight dude cutting a horse's head off. And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? Because I never heard of Game of Thrones at that, and this was 2012, so season 1 was already out. Yeah. I never heard of this show. I've never even heard of the books, and
yeah, it was great.
And then I was watching it for a while, and then they had I hate to sound it, but there was a gratuitous, there was a weird scene. There was a weird love scene that I saw. I was like, oh, they're doing this, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be gratuitous. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna watch any more HBO stuff. So, but then then a couple of years later, I watched it again, and I was like, you know what, I'm okay with it. And I got really into it. So
you're okay with boobs. You're okay with boobs.
It wasn't boobs I was talking about. It was something. It was a weird scene between two guys. Okay. And it was no offense. I mean people are,
that does sound gratuitous.
It was just, I was like, what is this? Like, is this show mostly gonna be this? I was like, so I just stopped watching it. So
it was a different kind of sword fight than we wanted in our Game of Thrones.
It wasn't even that. It wasn't even. It was like they were shaving each other.
Yeah, I did.
I'm like, this is. Ugh. I didn't want to see that.
Oh, I know what you're talking. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? It was not. It was a scene that was not.
It was Renly and
Loras. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
Loras,
what is this? I'm like, come on. Yeah. So whatever.
Weird scene to come in on, I would imagine. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, but we get to see. So they're talking about the costs, and of course, the king thinks the queen's going to have a boy because wants to have an heir. That's the big thing. So boy, it is. That's what he thinks. He has a vision. We find out that he has a dream later on, a vision or something that a boy's going to be born. And whatever. We'll get into that when we get to it. But we see the Iron Throne. We see the new Iron Throne. The Iron Throne looks more in line with how the books describe it. It's big, it's shaggy, it's asymmetrical, and it's sharp. Like you don't want to lean back on it or you're going to get stabbed. And who's sitting on it? Well, Matt Smith is sitting on it as Prince Daemon. And Rhaenyra goes in there and they have a little conversation. She's like, if they find you doing this, you could get, executed or charged with treason. He's like, I don't give a shit. I don't care. So, so Daemon, we meet Daemon, and he's basically he's just one of those characters that doesn't give a shit. And he's definitely not the Doctor. He's definitely not the 11th Doctor this time. So
he was so good. He was such a surprise, Brian, to me, because I really thought he was going to be some lame beta based on what we saw in the promo material, and instead he was awesome. That was he was pure awesome. He was awesome. He gave off menacing, creepy, and affectionate all at the same time in that scene. Yes, and it blew my mind.
And I have a new subscriber. Thank you for subscribing, Jeff P. And because you subscribed, I have to give you Mike Ehrmantraut young Mike Ehrmantraut warm welcome. I hear a transmission. Let's see what this is.
I swear, if you ever show your face out there again, I won't. Ever. I won't. Ever. I won't. I promise you. Oh.
Thank you for subscribing, Jeff P. You were awesome. Welcome.
I was like watching the guy in the background when you play that. He's just sitting there.
But the guy in the background that he was in Total Recall. He was the guy with the scanner in Total Recall.
I know.
And he gets the dwarf girl she's like and she stabs him.
Yeah, I know.
That was
It's
him.
funny.
That was him. I didn't realize it for years. So, but yeah, I have to say, I thought it was great. So, so we go to so Iron Throne. So we cut to another scene. Her and Allison are outside, and we see a weirwood. So we get to see a pale
Yeah, it looked
tree
cool.
with the
She looked
face, and I don't think we saw the red blood or red
No.
sap or whatever it is that came out.
I don't
But
think so.
it was cool that we got to see another weirwood tree outside of Winterfell, outside of the gardens or whatever. I forget the Godswood. They call it the Godswood in Game of Thrones. So it was cool seeing this Godswood with their own weirwood. So they're not just in Winterfell. They're all over Westeros, and they're used to be the eyes of the children of the forest, who are not going to be in the show,
Right.
or are they? We'll
Maybe.
see. We'll
Who
see.
knows?
We'll see.
We'll see,
Who knows?
because what they name dropped made me think of a certain or made me think. So there you go.
Who knows, right?
Exactly. So we find out Viserys has, like, I don't know what that was. That was like he had like a wound on his back. I don't know if that was an ulcer.
I think that isn't that supposed to be the alluding to like the stuff that Mormont had, the scale stuff from Valyria.
Grayscale?
Grayscale? No,
Grayscale?
I don't think so. No.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
No.
It looked like
That presented
a
pretty different.
Okay.
yeah. Grayscale looks like literally like a scale. Like you're
Well, but I assumed they had peeled it off, the grayscale, like, because they said it wouldn't heal. So I'd assumed that they had cut the grayscale off, and it wouldn't heal, and they kept having to treat it.
the king assumed that it was him being stabbed by the throne
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, that's what he said. Yeah,
I think, and then I think the maester said, "Oh, it's because of all the stress that he has, like an ulcer." So they were trying to put like some weird lotion into. They were trying to put some weird lotion into the wound.
And don't forget the leeches. The leeches fix everything. Yeah.
You know, it's funny in the books. Bruce Bolton is always being leeched. So he's leeched to the point where he looks like a vampire. Like, he's pale. He's older than he looks. Like, he looks like he's 30, but he's actually like 50. He's like 40 or 50 in the books. So, and he's just creepy. In the books, he's really creepy. I'm just gonna say he doesn't look anything like his Game of Thrones. I love Michael McCallum. He's a great. I think he's a great actor. He was probably the one person I was happy to see in Wheel of Time. I don't know if you guys would agree. He played Tam.
I was glad he was cast as Tam. It would have been nice to see Tam, but
criminally underutilized.
Yes, it would have been nice to see him actually be Tam. But I was glad,
along with all of Robert Jordan's world, criminally underutilized.
Yes,
the Wheel of Time, really, really.
Still waiting to see the adaptation, actually.
Yeah. So we're in another scene where the queen is in a bath, and this is like according to her, it's the only comfortable place to be in. I should probably close this comment. I forgot about that. Sorry. The king is in there with her, and they talk about the family, and he talks about his dream that I mentioned earlier, that he sees his son wearing Aegon's crown, and that's why he thinks it's a boy. So it's kind of like the Targaryens have this weird ability to have visions and see things that will come to pass. Like, one of the Targaryens, like I said earlier, was able to identify the doom of Valyria, so that's why they left and went to Dragonstone. That's why they took all their holdings and all their assets, and they relocated to the outpost of Dragonstone. And the king thinks this is the same thing. Like, he thinks he's having a vision of what's going to happen. That he's going to have a son, and that the son's going to take over as his heir.
Right.
Well, does it happen? Well, we'll keep going.
Yes.
So she literally, and there was a nice little conversation. She's like, "Is this going to be my last?" Because we find out that she had like multiple children before that.
That was heartbreaking.
Yeah. She lost almost majority of them. And the same thing happened with the Mad King, Daenerys' father. So you had Rhaegar, the eldest, and then you had they tried to have a whole bunch of other children that all died. They all didn't live to be children or didn't live to be adults. Well, and then you had the Viserys, and then of course Daenerys herself.
Yeah, well, we start getting into some hard scenes to watch a little bit, not because they're bad, but just because.
Yeah, I had to look away. I couldn't watch that stuff. I couldn't do it, dude. Not in a bad way.
I couldn't believe what I was saying.
I mean, I guess I jumped a little ahead, but I mean, the tournament starts next, right? I mean, the tournament was freaking.
That was
I love the tournament.
Brutal. It was brutal. Oh my god. Yeah.
We're not
But that
there
whole-
yet. We're
Not
actually
yet.
we're actually at the Gold Cloaks now.
Oh,
The
that
City
well, that's
Watch,
good
the Gold
too.
Cloaks.
I mean,
Yes,
the Gold
yeah.
Cloaks is great too, man.
That
So
was that was sick, dude. That was crazy.
So remember, the Gold Cloaks are basically the City Watch. So in the in Game of Thrones, it was Janos Slynt who was in charge of the City Watch, and then of course he betrays Eddard Stark, and because of the fact that he betrays Eddard Stark, Tyrion has him Tyrion has him sent away in one of the funniest scenes in season 2 of Game of Thrones, where he's like I forget how exactly he puts it, but he's like I am not questioning your honor, sir, because he gets pissed off that the Janos Slynt gets pissed off at Tyrion for questioning his honor. He's like, I'm not questioning your honor, sir. I'm denying its existence.
Yeah,
And then he tries to get up, and then of course, then the Gold Cloaks come in with Bronn. He's like, this is Bronn is the Gold Cloaks' new master, and they take him away to be sent to the Night's Watch. So
yeah.
I have not heard. If you guys heard any, I don't think I heard any references to the Night's Watch in this episode. Did you guys hear? No. Okay, no. Okay.
I don't think so. No.
You did see a Stark.
Yeah, you did see.
Yeah,
We did see a Stark.
That blew my mind. That blew my mind. Yeah.
We did see a Stark. So there you go. And
Briefly,
there must always be a Stark in Winterfell.
Yes.
And Press B for Balefire in chat says, what were they showing that was so gory? Would you like that chronologically or alphabetically? Because it wasn't nonstop gore, but when it happened, it did not pull any punches, especially we'll get into it, but it's
sort of the gore level rises and goes from ebbs and flows here, different reasons. It's not always just straight up violence. Yeah.
No, it's also because you care about the character. In the space of less than half of an episode, you care about a character.
Look, I thought it was good gore. Like I was like the one scene was hard to watch because of what it was, but I was fine with the rest personally. I mean,
and because the setup for it, like Salty said, you cared about the characters, the way that they played the interplay between the two of them beforehand. You were just man.
Press B for Balefire. No, it was more of your investment in who it was happening to. There was one scene involving the Gold Cloaks where it was like, holy cow, that's a little brutal, but
yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah. So my god.
So I don't know if this was Damon's first stint as commander of the City Watch. Apparently, this was not the first job that they tried to give him, but apparently this was something that they just gave him, and they're all beating.
First.
Yeah.
Okay.
Based on he kind of snuck into the city without the king knowing, right? They had talked about, where is he, and then it goes straight into that. So what a way to introduce yourself to the criminal element.
And they're beating the knights or the Gold Cloaks are beating their chest. I thought for a second I thought they were playing drums, but no, they're just hitting their own chest plates. And of course,
obviously they respect the hell out of him too.
Yeah, and Damon just basically gives a pep talk saying we're gonna stop the crime in King's Landing, because I guess even at this point, because King's Landing was built after the conquest, so it was a brand new city. The original capital of the faith was in Old Town, where the High Towers are in charge of. So not just the Citadel's Citadel is in Old Town, and the faith used to be in Old Town as well with the Starry Sept. Now, because King's Landing was built, the new center for the faith is of course Baelor's the Sept of Baelor, which was that big giant cathedral looking place that you can see along with the Red Keep in King's Landing. So there you have it. But they're like, we're going to stop crime. So they march out. They're going in all different directions throughout the city, and they're beating up peasants. It's getting brutal. And then they you're a raper, and then they literally castrate him, and you see it. You see the blood, and then I don't know there was another guy that lost a hand or something. I don't know, because he stole something. He was a thief. And then of course a murderer. What did they do? Then they beheaded a murderer. and they made it into like a public spectacle. Like
Dude, it was a stack. They filled up 2 carts with pieces of bad guys, theoretically, but they also chopped some dude's junk off. So I think we can all infer where that
was
about.
crazy. I couldn't believe it's like, whoa,
And they
we're
showed
getting
it
right into it.
on a stump, and it was like, okay,
Like, wow.
That's Game of Thrones.
So what was your guys' take here? Do you think that the people that were, getting rounded up by the Brute Squad were actually criminals, or do you because it definitely seemed a little haphazard. They were just going into houses, they were going all over the place, and in that scene where he was like, chopping people's hands off and stuff, it was like a guy walking around just pointing at somebody, yelling an accusation, and then bam. And
it's like Twitter. It's like Twitter. That's what it is.
The problem is it's a lot of hearsay. I mean, like I say about Song of Ice and Fire, there's a lot of hearsay. People make shit up all the time.
Yeah,
so these were probably innocent people that were killed. Likely. Yeah. I mean,
Hightower thought so.
Yeah. And they're like, we can't have this. We cannot have this happen. So, and then of course, we get back to the High Council chamber. And of course, the Hand. So Daemon's actually present this time, and the Hand. Otto Hightower wants an explanation, and we so the only ally that Daemon has in the High Council is Corlys. Corlys is the only one that says, "Well, you know what? Maybe this is good for the city." So.
Nerd Poriel, can I interrupt you for 1 second? Because there's an interesting statement in chat, and it comes from AJ Wyatt, who says, I refuse to watch this because of the wokeness in the race swapping of already established characters now. And I have a take on that, but this is your show. I call this stuff out all the time for, I would say, valid reasons. In my opinion, this show, there was nothing woke about it. The person who was cast,
I thought he did a good job.
Was perfect.
Yeah,
he was perfect. It's not like Sandman, where they were the worst possible people for the roles. This guy was perfect. So I don't know how you guys feel.
I mean, I don't even remember like exactly how if Corlys was ever described in the books. I'm assuming because the Valyrians are basically they're cousins of the Targaryens. Like they're part of Valyrian. They're part of the Valyrian stock. Valyrians are generally very pale. They're usually very pale of skin, kind of like the elves. And I mean, if you want something close to an elf in the Song of Ice and Fire or in the world of Westeros, it would be the Targaryens. It'd be the Valyrians.
Yes.
So I mean, well, maybe a Valyrian, a Valyrian went to Summer Isles or maybe Corlys was from the Summer Isles. I don't know.
I think the important thing is it wasn't made a big deal of. He was just a character.
Yeah.
You never knew what the character's race were because they never talked about their race. There was never an ideological insert. There was never a look at, we have this race of this person cast.
Yeah.
This guy was a great actor and he played his role believably. Not once was the fourth wall removed. I was completely immersed in this world and I am an asshole. I am with this. And I loved it. I loved.
There was one character who wasn't really in the books. I don't think he was really described as a person of color, but they made the character. He was the pirate Salador San from seasons 3 and 4. He was friends of Davos Seaworth. They had a different actor of color play him, and he was awesome. I liked him. I liked the pirate dude who was in Lost. I thought he was great as one of the or the slaver. He played the slaver who takes Tyrion and Jorah captive. He's like, we're gonna cut off the dwarf's cuck his super magic powers, and he's like, no, you don't. He's like, it's not. You wouldn't know. And they're like, well, how would we know? Because it's not a little one.
Yeah, I mean, AJ,
but
AJ. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, nerd. No. I was going to say, AJ Wyatt, I came into the show expecting exactly what you're saying. And there was none of it. So
yeah.
I never say watch a show. I said it for Stranger Things, and it was also what Nerd Poriel, and maybe you're just lucky, Nerd Poriel, where whatever you want to review with me turns out to be good. But this is the second time I'm going to say it on your show on an invite and say, I think you should watch this show. I think it's a really good show.
so
Well,
far.
I mean,
far.
there were some, red flags, but nowhere near the amount of red flags that.
No, there
Rings
were a
of
few in
Power.
there, but I don't
Yeah.
nothing
Let's-
that made me like go take me
Yeah.
out. Didn't take me out of it at all.
It just
right?
looked. I mean, just seeing the trailer looked good. I mean, it
Yeah.
made me interested. So
Yeah.
AJ, I think we
And-
can confidently say that they never did anything where so Corlys is married to the queen that never was, right?
yes,
And they
Rhaenys.
never had that pan over and dialogue where it's like, well, we can't have her be queen because then he would be there, which is what
Mhm.
I think that's the kind of thing that you would be afraid of in that.
Mhm.
And instead, it was never commented on. It was never.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, this is a guy that we've all known for 40 years.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
If this show starts going down that road, I'm pretty sure this panel will be the first ones to
Oh,
go,
yeah.
wow, nice bait and switch.
Well, I thought
But
we were
it
going.
hasn't happened.
That's why I said
You know?
immediately. Like we were talking about it when that first monologue with the when they're talking about being pregnant and she didn't want to be. It's like, are we headed down there? And they had their little moment.
I couldn't help but think that too. Maybe it's because
I'm like, oh, here we go, and then it was that little tiny moment, which we could say it's cringe or whatever. Which it was a little bit, but then it just sharp left, and it was one of those. And then obviously the queen has quite the epic battle that later that she loses. I guess we'll get there, but right.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I don't know. It didn't bother me in this right now because it wasn't just
no,
look at me. Like there were no extreme close-ups to be like, look at how I just
Yeah.
it didn't
Yeah.
bother me.
Yeah.
in this.
Like I said, at no point were you ever seeing the actor. You were always seeing the character, and that's
Yes.
what you
That's-
want in a show. The immersion. I want to be surrounded by believable characters acting in a believable way in a setting that seems real. And this show delivered on all points.
Yeah.
Spot on. And that's the absolute opposite of the Rings of Power, where now every time we look on screen, we're going to see the person
I'm an
cast and their
activist.
politics. And it's like,
Look,
you lost me. You lost me. It really.
Look, they changed it from the books. That's just gonna happen now. And if you're gonna take and it's one of those things that I had to sort of, I was hoping that it wouldn't take me out of the Wheel of Time stuff, but the story just was crappy. I was willing to give characters that were changed from their appearance in the Wheel of Time or even any other show a chance if they could prove that they could act and that the story was good. I feel like that's what happened here. You can't expect in this day and age, and it's just, I'm sorry.
It was one character.
It's naive to not think they're going to put it in there. They're just going to, they're going to do it. And if it's overly brought attention to, and it's just like, look at this guy. This guy's now king. He's the best. He wins every sword fight. His shits are gold, right? Okay, yes.
That was Tywin Lannister, man. Come on.
Well, yeah,
your lore rights.
Yeah, but it's like it's gonna and I understand this almost defeatist attitude, but it's just, I'm being real. It's just
If you accept that it's gonna have to happen because of the rules of modern TV show production, whatever.
Yeah.
If you accept that, which with the amount of money you have to accept that they're gonna do what they're gonna do, then this is the way you want it to be done.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it was one character. One character. Compare that to The Sandman. Did anybody out there sit through those now 10 episodes of The Sandman?
I didn't even watch it.
Exactly. And so Wheel of Time. Come on, guys. And the other thing is, first of all, I'm not being paid by HBU. You're talking to a guy who spent 2 hours talking to Steve about how black-pilled we were on everything. We had no hope for anything coming out ever again that was good. And to sit down tonight, I was ready to rip this apart. And instead, I just was entertained.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Same. Yeah. Same.
And I wanted to find things that were wrong, and I didn't.
Yep.
Is it subjective? Yes.
Yeah.
But my God, this is the show that we want. You have one character who maybe is a different race, but it's plausible within the world, and not in some bullshit way like Payne and McKay with the Rings of Power. If you want to hold on to that, you can. But
I don't know what you're gonna watch.
Nothing.
I don't know what you're gonna watch. I mean,
Old stuff from the 90s.
I mean,
I'm the last
would
person to apologize for this.
Would I prefer it all
and
look
I'm
like
not.
the source material? Absolutely, absolutely. I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not. Would I would. Yes, of course. If it's written this way in the book, that's how I want it. But that's not. Whatever.
Jesus.
You can
Lyle,
call me
let it go.
call me a beta if you want. I don't give a shit. I
Yeah.
don't think that's a beta attitude. I think that's
no,
being real.
it's
because
not
I would
beta.
like to watch some TV. That's all.
It's not real. And Lyle, you can be as contrarian as you want, but dude, I'm going to tell you right now, there's no comparison between these two shows. And it's not because of picking a fight with you. It's just that this show has never had their actors come out and talk about how their character's an activist. This show has shown us that despite what happened with the Game of Thrones show for the last 2 seasons, somebody had a come to Jesus moment. And like, we can make a lot of money doing this. We can make a really good show doing this. And yes, it's 1 episode, but I can guarantee you this. We are not going to be having the same conversation after the first 2 episodes drop of the Rings of Power. We are not.
I think what this indicates is that HBO doesn't have Amazon's sort of back end business, right? No. They have so much more riding on the success of their big budget shows than Amazon. Amazon is just about how much content can I have? Because the longer you're on my website, the more likely you are to add things to your shopping cart. Right? Whereas HBO needs people to buy subscriptions to their streaming service. It has to be something that puts butts in seats. And I think that you can tell they give a shit about making a good show is what this looks like.
At least so far. Who knows? Next episode could make a sharp right turn.
It could. In the minute it does, I'm going to call it out and go, we had 1 good season. We had 1 good episode of television. Now it's shit.
Remember,
the first one. He will take that sword off the back of his wall. I'll take mine down. We'll go slashing.
Remember, 2. I think it was 2.7 million people signed the petition for them to remake season 8. That's just how pissed off people were about that season.
Why they don't, I don't understand. They could print money. They could launch all those spin-off shows. So what they did tonight could launch 4 other new shows.
Look,
just based on this.
I mean, they're talking about there. There's an. I mean, George has been talking about multiple projects, and I'm just like,
I would anything to distract him from writing his books.
I'm in this weird spot.
Your story that made you put you on the map in the first place. Excuse me. But let's keep going. I know we want to keep talking about this. Let's keep
just real quick. I just want to say I'm in a weird spot because I on purpose didn't read the source material for this because I just want to go in cold and I want to see if I can enjoy this for what it was. So I'm in this weird spot where I do understand you want your show to look like your book. I'm there. But for me, it didn't matter because I don't know that source material. I just see people acting well in a world that I believe exists. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So
I agree. That's the same place I'm coming from.
So right. I get it, but it's one of those I just wasn't that for me.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
Sorry.
All right, Daniel for $10. Thank you, Daniel. You are awesome. He says, was it 10 to 20 years ago we used to just accept there would always be one stupid character, plot hole, poor acting, bad CGI, and everything as a default? We've been irradiated with the thing that rhymes with moke for so long.
Chokeism.
There you go.
All I could think of was Jar Jar Binks when he's talking
Daniel.
about that one stupid character. It's just like Jar Jar Binks. That's stuck in my brain
Squeeze me.
All right. Squeeze me.
All right. Sorry, man. Sorry, Brad. Go ahead.
No, it's all right. Don't worry. Yeah. Let you guys. Yeah, we got enough about it. So here. So this council, we're back. Well, so we're still in the council meeting, and we learn right away that Damon and Otto do not like each other. Like they are political adversaries, and like he's talking about, they do a little back and forth. So we find out that Damon is married to a woman. Her name is Rhea. Actually, I forget Ray. I don't know how it's pronounced. Depends. And she is. Well, all we know about her, she's from the Vale. She's from, I think. Runestone, I think is the name of the place.
Yes. And
she's uglier than, according to him, she's uglier than the sheep that they have there. So, and then then he's like, well, he's like, I don't want to go back there. You want my wife? I'll give you my wife. Your wife just died. Do you want some comfort? And he gets pissed off right away.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then there's like a little bit of the king's telling Otto, why do you keep giving him ammunition? So it seems like Viserys is not really on Daemon's side about anything. He won't eat. Like we learn later on that Daemon resents him for not making him like his hand, and not be like to put non-family before family. And that was, I thought that was a very powerful moment, especially now. This is later in the episode, but I felt it would be proper to connect it right here.
Again,
I was yelling. I was
within the
yelling.
episode.
Yeah, I was yelling. My God, you are so dead if you don't have this guy by your side. I was. You can. I mean, the way that they're portraying this and the subtlety in the dialogue. It wasn't in what they said. It's how they looked when they were saying it. That was so compelling in that scene. Two brothers. That was so good. It was so good.
The line of the episode is just what was it? It was just like it's like I would love you to do it without brutalizing my city. And what it is like, we'll see, or like I hope so too, or something like that. It's like, dude, I'll cut this city. Time will tell, right? I'll cut this city to shreds. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, dude, whoa.
Yeah.
So,
okay, all right. So where are we at now? Okay, so so Daemon obviously leaves the council meeting, and we find out that Daemon is at a brothel, and he's just, even though like on the outside he's like he's very arrogant, very cool and everything, he's actually pretty fucking he needs the comfort of a lady of the night to remind him things.
A certain one, as we learn throughout the episode. That's fascinating. Yeah.
And let's just say she's kind of important in this story. So I don't even remember. Honestly, I don't even remember her name. But yeah. So there we go.
She's hot.
Yes,
she's
she was.
hot.
Yes,
she's
she
hot.
was.
Yeah,
yes, she
yeah.
was. Yes, she was. And so like we learned that Daemon is. Of course, he's the wielder of Dark Sister, the sword Dark Sister, which is also, I believe, in Song of Ice and Fire. I forget who wields it in that, assuming Dark Sister even still exists. But I remember it mentioned in Song of Ice and Fire.
I love how the swords are named. I don't know. It's just sort of.
Well, you had Light. I think you have Lightbringer, Dark Sister. You have Ice. Right? Ice is the one that the big sword that Ned Stark wields, and then it gets split into. Oathkeeper and I think Widowmaker, because Joffrey's a bastard. And he names his sword Widowmaker, and Jaime has the other sword and he gives it to Brienne. She calls it Oathkeeper. So those are the two swords.
Yep.
I forget what other and of course I forget what Jon Snow's sword is. He has a Valyrian steel sword from Lord Mormont.
Oh God, what can I
can't think of it. It's been so long since I've watched Game of Thrones or read the books. So I'm forgetting the details. I feel bad now.
Nah, dude.
But we find out that Daemon is the rider of Caraxes. That's the name of his dragon. And the Lady of the Night comforts him and just reminds him who he is. And then we get to the tourney. We get to the tourney the next day. And Viserys announces the Queen's labor. So we find out while this is going on, while he's out having a good time at the tourney, the Queen is going through her labor.
Right.
And that's I was like, I'm like, this is not going to end well. I know this is not going to end well. So,
I didn't know because I was obviously I haven't read anything, so I'm still I'm concentrating on the tournament at this point. It's like I'm fully in on this. Like some of the shots of them riding the horses and just like putting you right in the joust, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. So we get to see jousting again. Ever since we haven't seen it since season 1 of Game of Thrones, so it was cool seeing jousting again. But unfortunately, we didn't have Robert Baratheon and his memeable line, "Get this going, or I'm going to piss myself again." Get this. Let's get this going before I piss myself. You miss Robert Baratheon. You miss, like, the realm was better off with him. It's weird, but it's true. Because of season 8, you find out, you just think the realm was better off with Robert Baratheon the whole time. So
yeah, it's true, isn't it?
Yeah. Like you're like, what the hell were they thinking when they were writing this?
Nothing, right? Yeah.
And I'm not the one that came up with this. Better YouTubers came up with this years ago. So, so, so there's jousting. We see the knight wants favor of the queen who never was. It was some Baratheon dude. And I liked how Serrato was like, we could just, because he opened his mouth, we couldn't, we could take his tongue. And he's like, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do it. Let them say their crap. And of course, the guy ends up losing to, I think it was Kristen. So Sir Kristen Cole is going to be another major player in the Dance of the Dragons. So, so I think Sir Kristen unseated him. He unseated there was another Baratheon dude that got unseated. And we find out that Damon himself, because of his ego, and his prowess, joins the ranks. And who does he choose as an opponent? He chooses Otto Hightower's son. That bastard.
Man.
And so they're jousting. So Hightower's son, I think his name's Gawain.
He did him dirty.
Yeah, Gawain Hightower hits him in the chest when he doesn't get unseated. The next time he comes around, he trips the horse.
That was messed up, dude. That was messed up.
I'm like, is that allowed? I'm like,
I thought that too. I was like, what is this?
Yeah,
maybe the rules are there.
They made it clear, in a few more minutes that there were basically no rules in that tournament.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's something that Lyle, I don't remember who brought it up earlier in the chat, but and that's something I kind of agree with. I was like these guys are sons of lords and stuff. There's going to be hell to pay if you don't address. If they're just going to something simple like that, easy like that, could lead to war. Like you have to be you're walking on eggshells.
There was a lot of small. There was a lot of small dick energy. There was a lot of small dick energy in the fighting.
Well, that's what. I love that conversation that Corlys had with Rhaenys.
Yes.
And this is a similar conversation, or this was the thoughts of Lady Stark and Clash of Kings. It's like these kids do not know war. They are sweet summer children, and that's basically what she said.
Well, the funny thing is she's saying that as they're bashing. Right? What's that?
Didn't Lady Stark call them the Knights of Autumn? I think right. They'd never seen a winter. Is that
Knights of the Summer? I think, or maybe Knights of the Autumn. I don't remember.
Well, all I know is I laughed because while this conversation is happening, they're bashing each other's faces in.
Yes,
they're stabbing each other with fragments of shield, and then I remember it so clearly because I freaking was so shocked because Salty had looked away for a second.
Well, because Brian texted me, and I'm like, "What?"
The one guy just axes the guy straight in the face, and I'm like, "What is going on? We're in full-on melee here."
So we rewound it, and I'm like, "Oh, this is Game of Thrones that I've heard about, man." And then they got a stable boy puking in the background while this is going on.
That's right.
Oh my god!
Then a mace to the face, and it's just like, oh, what?
Yeah, I was like, was this the same guy, or did this guy kill multiple people? He killed the other dude for winning, and then I think people tried to stop him. And he killed them too. I'm like, what's going on here?
He killed a squire, and it was like, okay, you got anger management issues. You really do.
Yeah. I was just like, geez. Heck, even the hound, even the mountain didn't react. He just cut off his horse's head.
Killed his horse, right?
Yeah. Well, then he tried to attack. He did try to attack Loras too, and then that's when the hound came in and tried to, that was his opportunity to fight him. And then that's when Robert Brasson's like, "Stop this madness at once!" And then of course the hound kneels right away. I think the mound looks at him and spits and throws down his helm and runs away. But I loved how they were wearing helms. That was the problem with episodes in Game of Thrones, was that there was the Blackwater battle from season 2, and Stannis, even though it doesn't happen in the books, but in the episode, Stannis himself is leading the battle, and they're right up against the wall, and people are throwing rocks down. People's heads are bushing like melons, and Stannis is not wearing a helm. Stannis would be wearing the best helm of all of them.
So Damon's helm left a little bit to be desired, though. If you're jousting, he had an open face, which honestly I thought actually kind of played to his character. That he was that arrogant.
Yes.
That he was like,
it did look cool though. It did look cool.
It looked good, but I know Shad's going to do an episode about it.
Oh yeah. Well, I have to. So was I was thinking, were we supposed to think that the guys that were just full on, especially because of what happens with Damon, just he lets him yield. Are we supposed to think the other guys are just lesser lords and they don't care if they tear each other apart? Or
trying to make a name for themselves, maybe.
That's exactly what that's. I agree. That's exactly what it is.
It could have been kind of what Corlys and them were talking about. It's the conversation they had about where Lucky Wars didn't start, right away. That could have also been old houses maybe settling some scores.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of bad blood.
Potentially, yeah, exactly.
There's
Lots
always
of bad blood.
bad blood. Like there, any little like little flicker can torch the entire realm.
Yeah, so maybe there's that. So it could, yeah. But look, I loved it. I love the jousting scene of the whole thing.
Oh yeah, and then of course they cut to Queen
tough.
Emma, and we find out that she can't she can't give birth to the baby. So
hard.
the Grand Maester, so they bring
so
the king is brought to her, and the Grand Maester tells him, this is going to be an impossible choice for you to make. You're going to have to either choose your child, or we're going to have to operate and cut the baby out of her, or we're going to have to. Or we'll let the gods decide, and they could both die.
Yeah.
And he made the decision to cut the baby out, and didn't tell her. And I mean,
that was
for good
horrifying.
reason. And the way she reacted, I was like,
well, it's one of those things. It's like
it broke my heart, dude.
Yeah.
It was so terrible. It was so terrible.
But it's like, it's. And you can't even like be mad at him. He made the right decision, I think. I mean, at that point in that day and age, I mean, the baby's not going to come out. And if you have a chance, I guess. I mean, I wish, but do you tell her and panic her because she knows she's gonna, or do you do it the way he does it? I mean, it was a tough scene, but well done. And it paralleled the conversation she had earlier. This was her fight, and she lost.
Yeah.
She lost.
So the thing I wanted to throw in, so I watched this with my wife. She worked labor and delivery and also neonatal ICU, and she was pretty shocked, to say the least, at this. But the only thing that she said about it was that the only thing is that they should have knocked her unconscious. That was. But
because they have the potions. They have like a lot of potions.
And so that's the only thing that I'll say was the rest of it. You almost had to have that, given that she was going to die either way, right? So that was my wife's point.
With a breach.
They couldn't give her the.
Well,
they couldn't give
at that
her.
point.
They couldn't give her the milk of the poppy. The milk of the poppy is what they did for. And they couldn't give her any more, or that would affect the baby.
Right.
And
they said they gave her as much milk of the poppy as they could dare.
Yeah.
And
But I mean, at a certain point, there's other ways to make someone unconscious.
Oh yeah, just hit her in the head, knock her out. Just
So that was the only thing that
Three
I think was
Stooges, Hammer-Reedus, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lyle Hammock in chat. I want to shout him out. He said, "For what it's worth, I just asked my wife her ranking of the episode as she watched it as well, and she gave it a 9 out of 10. Hail to you, Mrs. Hammock, and to the little Hammock. Hail to you."
I don't know. I liked it.
It was brutal without being gratuitous. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah,
it made you feel for the king. It made you feel like,
oh god,
it was just like what
it pulled no
chat.
punches.
Everybody, what would you think? Like, what would you do in that situation?
Well, I watched him. Like I tried that. I was focusing on him because I couldn't focus on the rest. Right, it's just so bad. Right, but that dude went to work right there acting. Like I was there, man. It was just like, wow, man.
Anyone who's a husband or a father watching that scene should have been really feeling it. And I think anyone who's a mother. I mean, they pulled no punches, but they didn't go. Honestly, it was brutal, but they didn't make it gratuitously so, right?
Agreed.
It was as much as was appropriate for what they were showing you, and the way they cut it back and forth between what was going on the list,
it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, the
didn't they cut it with the violence with that one dude
Yes.
getting hit, or that one dude killing all those guys, and then
it was Damon. It was Damon's sort of fight where he got unhorsed. That's what they were. That's what they were cutting. Back
and then they
forth.
continued the fight, and he thought he won. He had his back turned to Kristen Cole. And Kristen Cole knocked him down and made him yield instead.
Again, the way they spliced those two together, so perfect, because you're sitting there watching the aftermath of the the C-section, right? And you're thinking the same thing, maybe, right? Like she died, but he has a son, and then you see Damon victorious, right?
Is
And
it
then
is it
the rug gets pulled
foreshadowing?
out.
Is it
The rug gets
foreshadowing
pulled
a
out from
future
above.
conflict?
Yeah.
So that was so good.
Yeah, and I will say, I mean, I think calling it a C-section is very generous. It was basically a disemboweling that pulled a baby out. I mean, because that's what they knew how to do back then, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that was fucked
Tough
up.
one. Yeah.
That was fucked up.
That was tough.
And yes, it's not, I mean, like I said, I mean, this is not a show for everybody. I mean, this is borderline grim dark. I mean, not grim dark like Berserk, but it's up there. It's up there in terms of its violence and adult content. So yeah. And I mean, I know the source material. I mean, I don't know it as well. I've been reading Fire and Blood right now, but it doesn't end well for a lot of characters. I'll say that. It's
Oh, that's Game of Thrones,
that's
right?
war.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
war.
Yeah. I mean,
War is remember everybody. War is bad. War is bad.
unless you win.
Yep. Martin hates his characters.
No,
it's like remember
unless you can use it to launder money for an illegitimate president, then it's great.
Uh-oh.
Just say that.
remember Tolstoy's original name for War and Peace. War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Oh wait, that was a Seinfeld reference. But there we have it. So it was just crazy. So so we get to where do we get to? So yeah, so they have the funeral. So they have the funeral for the wife, and then they pan down, and we see a small corpse too. It was the baby did not last.
The cinematography on all of these scenes was so good. The camera directing, right, and the way the way they set that up from one side, and then no dialogue, nothing required. Again, show not tell. Just the pan down, and then you see Viserys, and you're just like, damn.
But you know who directed this episode? This was Miguel Sapochnik. He did Hard Home. He did Battle of the Bastards, Winds of Winter. He even did the Long Nights and the Bells, which was episodes 3 and 5 of season 8. So but rooting out season 8, the episodes they did before that were excellent, and I felt this is up there with those episodes. And I thought this whole scene was pretty beautiful, and of course we get to hear someone other than Daenerys say Dracarys. And then they use the dragon flame to light the bodies to create the pyres for the bodies. So
yep.
R.I.P. Queen Emma, and R.I.P. Prince was it Balon? Yeah, Balon.
Yeah.
Prince Balon. So all right, so we have I didn't take as much notes as for like Better Call Saul and the Orville. So
you're probably so busy watching and encapsulated that you're like, oh shoot, I should have watched.
It's not an easy show to take notes, like, because they're really like in universe on stuff, and you're kind of like, okay, what's going on?
Well,
here?
I mean,
trying to figure it out.
Yeah, because it was like what? Then they go oh, dude! Then they pull the king into the freaking meeting, right? Is that next?
Yeah. So the next meeting is the council meeting. They have an evening council meeting, and Otto Hightower brings up we got to talk about the issue of succession now. Now that the heir that he planned to have is now gone, they have to discuss what they're going to do. And I mean, like Corlys and even Damon himself's like, well, I'm here. I'll be the heir. And they're like, no, we don't trust you. We think you're gonna destroy. You're gonna destabilize the realm with your policies. So they don't
Damon
trust
wasn't
him.
in the room. Damon in this scene, Damon was outside listening through the sort of screen, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Because I actually thought, I mean, it was well done, but I immediately had the thought, I was like, how is it that this council chamber is so easy to spy on?
I know, but that's the thing about the Red Keep and in Game of Thrones in general. There's always people listening in on conversations, so you can never be too careful. So, one thing that I hope that they do, I'm not sure if they will, because one thing that the original books did, Varys knew all the secret passages. So the Red Keep had multiple secret passages that nobody else knew about. So I'm curious if they're gonna. There's a moment during the Dance of the Dragons which is completely fucked up. I don't know if they're gonna do it, but it involves the murder of a child, a murder of a 5 or 6 year old. I don't know if they're gonna do it. It's part of the source material, and I think they sneak in through one of those the criminals sneak in through one of those passages. And so I was reading up on it today, and I was just like, ooh, because like how they have younger characters in the Song of Ice and Fire, and what they did in Game of Thrones, they just simply aged them to make them teenagers or adults. Like I don't know how they're gonna do it with this. They're probably gonna do this. They might do the same thing. Might have the kids of what's her name, Sir Alicent, be adults or whatever. I don't know how they're gonna handle that. So. But this might be seasons off. So, but that's just food for thought. But yeah, so they don't want him destabilizing the realm, and then the king. I think the council itself suggests that he grooms Rhaenyra to be the heir.
Yeah.
And of course, Daemon is eavesdropping, and of course, we see that Otto is sending a letter to Old Town. I don't know. I don't think the letter paid off. I don't think we learned what the letter entailed. But
yeah, not yet, I don't think.
But what we do learn, and this is something that if you're familiar with the source material, you know what's going to happen as a result of this. He tells Alicent, his daughter, Rhaenyra's friend, to go and to go and offer the king comfort in his chambers. And what does that mean? Wink, wink.
Yeah.
So she of course she visits King Viserys's chambers. He has the model of I don't know if it was like a castle or an outpost or something, or I don't know if that was supposed to be Dragonstone or if it was supposed to be the Red Keep.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that was. That thing that he was sculpting.
It might have been King's Landing.
It was amazing. I thought it was King's Landing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then maybe that is. We'll see. But and of course, Alicent brings a book. She arrives and she offers up her sympathies, and then it cuts to we see more Daemon in the brothel, and now we get to see more male nudity because that's what we want. We want to see male ass, and I think we do get
there were naked chicks. There were lots of
there
boobs.
were
there was lots of naked. Let's be fair.
There were. So Daemon was there, and of course we find out that he brought I think all the gold coats there to his posse to have a good time. And he gives a speech, and he mentions the heir of the day. He mentions the heir of the day, and everybody heard this, and it came to the ears of the Hand of the King, and then the Hand of the King brought up at the next council meeting that morning. So to Prince Balon, or of course the heir of the day was Prince Balon. So he reopened a wound that was just freshly that was open not too long ago, and that's something you don't fucking do. And he was saying this obviously he was saying this out of anger towards his brother, but the king summons him. Daemon is summoned to the king's court. So we see Viserys for the first time on the Iron Throne itself, and it looked pretty cool. It looked pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And the king questions Daemon. He's like, "Did you say this?" And of course, the king starts yelling at him, and Daemon ultimately doesn't deny, and he calls Viserys weak.
Weak, yeah.
Calls him weak, and so as a result, Viserys sends him back to Runestone by order.
That was a really powerful scene.
Yes.
And again, it was the dialogue was important, but it was the actions and the nonverbal of the actors. And that's what makes this show so incredible. Was these guys, they could have been reading the ingredients off of a can of biscuits.
Yeah.
And it would have been moving because these guys are both great actors.
Yeah.
And it was a great scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
So back to we find out new heir, and of course we find out that so Daemon takes his leave, and Viserys cuts himself because in the books if you sat on the Iron Throne, you had to be careful, because even as a ruler, like the Iron Throne is the most dangerous, and there's a reason for that. And so the physical aspect is to remind the king of like the amount of power and the people around him, that there's a lot of danger to that position. You have to be really careful what you do, and the physical aspect of it just reinforces that. And I love that they showed that, because it's mentioned a lot in the books. And so, I mean, once again, this was George's paw all over. George's paws were all over this episode. So, but yeah, so this is where it gets really interesting. So we're in the castle cellar. Now, we only seen the castle cellar, this part of the castle cellar, once, and this was in season 1, where Arya was running from I think it was Sir Meryn of the Kingsguard. This was after her father. Or actually, no, maybe that wasn't. Or no, she was chasing the cat. Okay, no, she was chasing one of the cats because she was training with Ilario, or not Ilario. What was the name of the dude? The one that's what does the God of Death say? Not today.
I forget
what was his name. I forgot his name.
The guy training her how to fight. Yeah. I don't remember his name.
I can't think. Syrio Farrell. Syrio Farrell. I remember.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Syrio Farrell, though. What does the God of Death say today? I love that actor. He's a Greek actor.
Oh yeah, he's
awesome.
Great. Yep.
What does the God of Death say? Not today. So
there you go. You got some Syrio Farrells in the chat too.
There you go. So we have Syrio. So she's chasing cats as part of her training with Syrio Farrell to be a water dancer. Really quick with the sword and everything, sticking with the pointy end. And so she chases the cat down into the cellar. And I think she's right by the skull of Balerion the Dread. So they keep the skull of Balerion the Dread in a part of the castle cellar, and that's where she hears the conversation of Varys and another character who we all know is Ilario Mopatis from Pentos, one of the cities, who was responsible for Daenerys being who was hosting Daenerys in the first season, and then he receives Tyrion after he has to leave because he murdered his father, and he was accused of killing Joffrey or poisoning Joffrey. Of course, he didn't do that, but he did kill Tywin, and that the show has not been the same after once Charles Dance left. It just wasn't the same. You needed a bad guy like Tywin to keep the show interesting. So I love that character.
Yeah,
he was a bastard. He was awesome.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back. So Viserys is down here with there's candles lit in front of Balerion the Dread's skull.
That head was so cool.
That was cool.
That was
way
amazing.
better than what we saw in season 1 of Game of Thrones.
Good.
But then again,
that was amazing.
Yes. And so he summons Rhaenyra. So now that Rhaenyra is an heir, he has to tell her all the secrets of the Targaryens, stuff that was not widely known. Right. And this was something I think would have been what he tells her, I think would have been in Winds of Winter, or was supposed to be revealed in Winds of Winter, or even A Dream of Spring, which is supposed to be the final book. Mm-hmm. So we find out. He asked her, like, you look at this skull, what do you see? He's like, I see us. I see the Targaryens. We see ourselves as gods instead of men because of our dragons.
Right. And
he reveals to her that the whole idea of us controlling the dragons is an illusion. It's an illusion. We want people to think we do it, but we actually don't. That was pretty telling right there.
Yeah.
And the other thing, and of course he says, like, they do not control the dragons, and it's the sorcery. It's like I think they said the sorcery behind the dragons is what led to the doom of Valyria in the first place. What does that mean? I don't know. Maybe they did blood magic, because blood magic's a big thing in Game of Thrones. So maybe there were sacrifices involved. Who knows? Yeah. There definitely were sacrifices. What am I saying? This is Game of Thrones. This is Game of Thrones world. So, he, of course,
we got bots. Sorry.
Yeah, we got him. Godzillionaire got him, and I got one. So
Godzillionaire. Yep. So we need Godzillionaire saved us.
Yes, sir.
Yep. There we go. So yeah. So he's asking her these questions because the heir of Targaryen, the heir of the throne, Iron Throne, they need to have this particular discussion. So of course, then we cut into the council swears fealty to, of course, to the heir. They all the lords. So not just the councilmen, but all the lords, all the high lords of like we meet a Stark. I think we saw a Lannister.
Baratheon.
We saw Baratheon. And so it cuts between that and it cuts between their conversation. And then this was the real doozy right here. This was the one that made me drop my mouth. So, and this explains why Rhaegar was interested in the prince that was promised. We find out because Rhaegar, the Mad King's son, was originally supposed to be the heir, but then he gets killed by Robert. And we find out the whole prince that was promised. So Viserys tells us that Aegon the Conqueror did not just conquer the Seven Kingdoms or conquer Westeros because of ambition. He did this because he had a vision, just like the one prince, the one Targaryen princess that saw the doom of Valyria happen. They saw the Long Night. They saw the White Walkers. They saw the North. They saw what the North and a great winter coming. Yeah. And when this happened, they needed to have a Targaryen as the ruler.
Yeah.
To fend this off.
Right.
And I thought that was, and they said this, in Aegon's vision, they called it the Song of Ice and Fire.
Yeah.
Because in the books, Daenerys has a vision, and she sees a vision of her brother talking to someone, I think talking to his wife at the time, Elliot Martell, about a Song of Ice and Fire. And she doesn't know what that is. She doesn't know what the context is. Nobody does. She asked Lord Jorah Mormont, who was her attendant, her right hand person.
Yep. And
he's the one that's very learned. Like, he knows everything. He's very learned, and he never heard of Song of Ice and Fire. So this was something that was held close to the hip, close to the chest with the Targaryens. Nobody else knew what they were. And I guess because Daenerys was the last one, her and her brother were the last ones. They never learned about that legend. So I'm guessing Rhaegar was the last one in that line to learn about the legend. That's why he was so interested in the prince that was promised prophecy, which ultimately was the same as the which also coincides with the Lord of Light. I forget the name of the Lord of Light. The Tad that shouldn't be probably knows, but the same. It's the same. But the same, it's the same idea. So so some people believe throughout the show that it was Daenerys that was the prince that was promised. Maybe it was princess that was promised, because there's no male or female sex to the word prince that was promised in Valyrian. Or maybe Jon Snow was the prince that was promised. So did they ever really answer that? No. Oh, no, they did. It was Arya. Arya was the key to everything.
Jesus.
She just flew out of nowhere like a Jedi and just did a ray, dropped the dagger, Valyrian dagger.
It's Arya Skywalker, Brian.
Oh,
Why are you afraid of strong women? Why are you afraid of strong women? I'm going to shout out Godzillionaire. He says, I really wanted to say that the prophecy of the Song of Ice and Fire was left unfinished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, the show did not pay off. The season 8 did not pay off at all. So it's crazy. So, and that was really pretty much it. So I thought that was the big bombshell at the end. And
that
of course,
was such a cool scene.
That was such
a cool scene between father and daughter.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was really cool. It was really cool.
Yep. And of course we see the king names Rhaenyra, says the final thing, Rhaenyra to the Iron Throne, and then it fades to black, and then we get the credits, and that's the end of the breakdown. So I thought that was pretty cool. So
Brian, you summoned him. The Thad that shouldn't be is here dropping facts.
Azor Ahai, that's it. Azor Ahai. Yeah, that's right. I forgot Azor Ahai. Yeah, that's
yeah. Oh, Matt, never change. Never change that is.
Azor Ahai is separate from the prince that was promised. Yeah, okay. You're probably he's definitely not wrong. If the Tad that shouldn't be says it, it's very likely he's correct.
Mostly.
All I know is I am surprised that I am looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah,
Yes.
same here.
I
Same here.
am extremely surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. Sorry,
Now
I
the
didn't mean to
bigger
interrupt
question
you,
is: are you
Salty,
looking
but
forward to this after show?
No.
If it's under 2 hours, yes. If it's
Of course,
under 2
man.
hours,
Of course,
yes.
of
Under
course.
2 hours, I am.
You
It
know
is
me, man.
interesting. In Gray from Wakazashi's Tea House pointed this out. Apparently, Neurotic and Mahler decided to review this show. So that's
I
cool.
thought they were done with. I thought they were done with Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Don't even get me started. But no, they're
Hey, and
apparently
they
doing
didn't
it.
hate
So
it, so that's okay. But
Yeah.
whatever. Hey, look,
I'd
man.
rather
like,
be here listening to these guys
look. All I
than
know
them
is
any day. I'm just gonna say that.
it's
Either one of them.
If we
These
don't,
guys,
if
I'd
we
rather be
don't,
here.
if we don't acknowledge what's good, right?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Like we have to
I mean,
acknowledge what's good.
There's two. There's
Especially in fantasy, because everything in fantasy right now is pretty freaking
co-opted.
terrible.
It's co-opted.
So when you get
Yeah.
a show like this, you have to recognize that it's so many tiers above something like Wheel of Time. And Lyle, I won't say I haven't seen Rings of Power yet. I can suspect how bad it's going to be, and I suspect it will be, but who knows? But if it's tiers above that, then we have to recognize when we have something good that comes out, especially in this genre, because it's just we're getting a bunch of garbage. So
Yeah.
I can't believe I can't believe I enjoyed it as much as I did. I am looking forward to episode 2. I hope they keep going on this track, but I'm not blind, and I know it could. I've said it a few times. It could go real quick.
Yeah, agreed. I came into the show expecting to hate it. I did. And I found myself entertained for the first time in years.
I was very cautiously optimistic. And somebody asked me just a minute ago, asked me like, "Hey, what did you think of that?" I saw you were watching it, and I described it as shockingly good. Like the expectations were low, right? But again, under promise, over delivered is what this show did. I'm excited to see. Hopefully, they keep it on the rails.
And I found it interesting. Some of the complaints I've seen around is it was slow, and it's like I
never felt that.
I didn't feel it was slow at all.
Watch Sandman. Sandman.
Sandman was slow.
Maybe it's because I was paying attention to the dialogue, and it wasn't like the action was meaningful when we got it. Right? It's like we got our action scenes, but they were meaningful, and they weren't like overdrawn, and there was a purpose to them. And then you get dialogue to it's like, okay, if you're paying attention, you're getting all the deceit and the games being played, and you got the eavesdropping, right? So I don't know, like,
and there was a good
I don't
push
get
and
slow.
Pull. There's a good push and pull on the tempo where the dialogue and sort of the stuff that was kind of building around and developing was interspersed with enough kind of action and things that were visceral and really dragging you into the scenes, that you constantly were having this sort of pressure kind of moving the story along, moving the plot along. Again, I mean, I can't think of the last show that I could describe where like I watched this and I was not looking at my phone constantly.
Yes,
right? Exactly.
Like I was actually watching this show. So
do you think they learned? Do you think they learned from Game of Thrones?
I hope so.
I don't know, man.
I mean, they
it's
had
way
to,
too early. It's
Yeah.
way too early to say that. I'm so grateful for this one good episode, but it's way too early to say, okay, I can forget season 8 of Game of Thrones, which I don't know that I can ever forget. So it had all that stacked against it going into this, and it I came out liking it. So
how many episodes are there in this season? Are there 8? Are there 10?
I think there's 10. I believe there's
10.
So
if we can get past episode 4 without a bait and switch,
yes,
if we can do it, then this show's legit.
Yeah.
I'd
agree.
So we have so I put up a poll right now. I put up a poll saying, did you like the episode? Will you watch the episode? So far I got 8 votes, and it's 100% yes. So
cool.
Looks like we're in a good position. And so I have right here, I have my double secret guest. And he wanted to come on, so sorry, Salty ran away. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Lyle Hammock. Lyle, you're my double secret guest, son. Welcome.
Hey guys, what's up?
We can hear you.
Not much. How are you?
Buddy.
Yeah, a little bit of feedback.
That better?
So you said you had some criticisms of the episode. I haven't been able to read the chat. So you had like 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, actually, I moved it up to 7. Pips convinced
Okay.
me to move it up to 7. But I mean, guys, and honestly, it wasn't a bad show. I mean, I'm not saying it was terrible. I mean, that's you guys think I'm saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just not blown away by it the way the rest of you are. That's all.
It's common.
No, I get it.
It's normal.
I will say this though, Viserys, Paddy Constantine, Considine, I think is his name, the guy who plays Viserys.
Yeah,
he totally carried that show.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was great. I mean, it was his episode, so I hope.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the episode pretty much was his in his brothers. So I mean, but he was, he did a great job, man. There's no denying it. That was great acting all the way through. But he did carry it. I agree with that.
So Lyle, I did you get any like maybe I like I said in the beginning, like the way they were setting it up with the Great Council meeting, it and the way it was narrated, it just made me think of the beginning of the first Lord of the Rings film. Did you get that? Did you get that vibe at all, or no?
No, actually, I thought it was cringe.
What was cringe about it? I'm curious.
Talking about the fact that Rhaenyra didn't get it because
we're getting
she's a
feedback.
woman.
Sorry, we're getting feedback, so I just wanted to let whomever isn't muted or whoever is not on Bluetooth earbuds or whatever to please try and control that. So
they get better. They get better.
Yeah, it's gone now. Yeah, it's no, we still got it. No, I can hear it and it's pretty bad. So that's why I brought it up. Otherwise, I would have let it ride. But
all right, yeah. So yeah, sorry, Lyle. Let's keep going. Say your piece.
No, but honestly, the scene was cringe. Her talking about basically they really harped on the fact that she didn't get it because she's a woman, and I don't know, that just turned me off the moment I heard it.
You're talking about Rhaenys. You're talking about the queen that never got the.
Yep.
So I got a question for you about that, because I think I was concerned about that from the trailers, right? I was pretty concerned about it from the trailers. But I thought that they had a fairly light touch on it in that, like, it was, if you consider kind of historical, human history, right? Like, not far off the truth, right?
I mean,
she didn't get the way that they handled so the way that they handled it, I thought was realistic enough. And also, like, that's what happened.
Right? It makes sense within the context of the world. I mean, that's how the world and
I think the
Westeros
other point is it makes it a bigger deal that they're breaking precedent to now name her the heir. So you start the show by saying, "Oh, this person didn't get it specifically because they're a woman," and I get how it's sort of harped on. But then at the end of the episode, they're now putting a woman in the seat, spitting in the face of 100 years of tradition. Mm-hmm. So it's showing that there's an evolution of what's going on. They're now willing to put a woman in there because they don't want to put this loose cannon in charge, right?
And then you see Corlys swear fealty to, and you're just like, oh man.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy.
No, I get it. I get what you guys are saying, but I don't know. It just came off as heavy-handed right at the beginning, harping on the fact she's getting it because she's a woman. You didn't have to harp on it. I think the audience would figure that out without you basically her talking about it in a monologue, is all I'm saying.
I get that, but you don't think she should be bitter? Because if she was the better choice, the only reason she didn't get it was because she was a woman?
Oh, I'm not saying she couldn't be bitter, but I wouldn't have gone with a monologue as the opening. I actually just would have opened with the Great Council of 101 and show the processing of what happened, and people are going to say, "Oh, people were able to put together. She's not queen." Well, she didn't get it obviously because she's a woman, and this is a medieval setting. You didn't have to say it.
I will agree with you on that, but I will say that I think that's one line of dialogue in an hour and 6-minute show, and obviously unfortunately placed for this thing that you're talking about, where like it's right at the beginning. And I think we brought that up, right? We talked about how each of us kind of, as we started out the first part, we were like, is this going to go? And then it went off in a different direction and improved.
Yeah. Also, too, can I just say, did anyone see the fact that Rhaenyra looks like a frog?
Huh?
Didn't see it, Lyle. Gonna admit that. Didn't see it.
Look at her
Wait,
face.
are
She
you-
looks like a frog.
Didn't
You
see
could
it.
put on a Pepe meme.
Oh,
Didn't see it, but I like it.
I don't know, man.
you said Rhaenyra. You said Rhaenyra.
Yeah, Rhaenyra.
Yeah. Well, okay. No, I didn't see it. So,
I don't know.
but yeah.
No, but 7 out of 10. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Solid, good episode, and I'm going to watch the next one.
Okay. That's good to hear. That's great.
I'd probably only give it like an 8.5, right? So I think that like we're in the ballpark, I would say.
Yeah. No.
Okay. So I have to ask you, Pips. The one that mounts the world. Is this series Shakespeare compared to Wheel of Time?
Oh man,
Dude. This is the Bolshoi ballet. This is the Stradivarius violin.
I actually know what the Bolshoi ballet
William.
is.
I know you would. You're a sophisticated cat, and Shakespeare, but also it's also Abbott and Costello and Robert Redford and Meryl Streep and the hottest centerfold you've ever seen compared to Rafe Judkins' Wheel of Time.
I don't think I can add anything to what Keeper of the Fire fandom put there. I mean, Salty Texas Sea is the OG on the Wheel of Time, Wheel of Prime. Hate.
The Wheel of Dog Shit. Can I say that?
Oh,
I'm sorry,
God.
I did.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it is.
That's what it is.
Yeah, it's far superior. It is far, far superior.
Well, there we go. There we have it. So, but yeah, I really. So, any other complaints you want to not unravel, unleash on us, Lyle?
No, I just will say one thing, though, and that is, I don't know what it is. Nothing against Matt Smith. Nothing against Damon as a character. He didn't grab me. Everyone's talking about how great Damon was. Damon did not grab me. And maybe it's because, as I put in the chat, I'm not a fan of his type of character. I'm not a fan of the cool assholes, as I call them.
Edgelords,
The roguish, the edgelords. Yeah, I'm not an.
You would
I'm
not
a
like.
very-
You would not
yeah.
like Berserk then. You would not like.
No, I
Berserk.
tried Berserk. I got 3 pages. I got 3 books in, and I said, nope, not for me.
Uh,
Oh my
It's got
God,
number
you got
2.
the whole volume, don't you? You got the whole
This-
volume, don't you?
This is not the whole, and this is 3 volumes in one. But yeah, I love Berserk. I love Berserk. But yeah, but it's not your thing. Obviously, it's not your thing. You're not a fan of the whole edgelord type of thing. I get it.
No.
I mean, it's not for everybody. So
Oh, and by the way, the lady he was with was Masseria, Lady Misery, his spy master.
Miss Siri. Oh, so that's his. Oh, okay, interesting. I didn't. Okay, I read the name. I just forgot it. Okay, because
Yeah.
I know she plays a big part. I know
She plays
a
a huge role.
later on. So, all right. Well, Lyle. Yeah, like this. See, we're here to have conversations. We're not all going to agree on stuff, and that's why I wanted. That's why I mean, I feel bringing you on was a great idea. So,
No, that was good.
and that's what I mean. We're all adults here, so that's what adults
yeah.
do. We have
And trust me,
conversations.
me and Salty have argued about Rings of Power for, God, what, months now, I'd say?
I wouldn't call it arguing. I'd call it you being wrong and me being rational.
We'll see in
being
11
rational.
days.
That's
Yeah,
nothing
I already know the answer, Lyle, but I hope I'm wrong. I'm not.
That's nothing compared to our
We'll see.
our Gundam. That's nothing compared to our Gundam Wing feud.
Dude,
Wing feud.
Gundam Wing is still the best Gundam.
Yeah, well, a lot of people, Gundam Wing is like the gateway drug that got people into Gundam. So you know what?
The first Gundam to come to the West.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't blame you. I mean, even my buddy who thinks it's the least best of them thinks it's still a really good show. So there you go.
Yep.
And see, I have all the Gundams right there on the top, on my top shelf underneath my Zelda poster, and Gundam Wing's actually not one of them. I got all the other.
You don't
Gundam
have the
except
Wing
for-
Zero.
I don't have Wing Endless Waltz or Gundam Wing. I don't have those.
No. You don't have models of Wing Zero, Death
I don't have
Sight,
models.
Arms?
I don't have models.
Oh, okay.
I just have I see. I'm not really into the mobile suits so much. I'm into the characters.
Oh,
And I did not like the Gundam Wing characters. I just didn't like them. So
One day
they were edgelord. Those were edgelord. The Hero Yui was edgelord. So I'm kind of surprised that it's like, I'm going to kill you, Relena. I'm going to kill you.
Kind of.
Like,
kind of.
I was
Actually,
like, okay, psycho.
Yeah, but dude, there is no series that has a character as good as Trey's Quish Renata. You talk
You
about
guys,
a guy that is
Steve has to go, and I have to go too. Steve has a work thing, so we don't mean to be rude. We got to split, dude. So
yeah,
like a banana. All right.
Well, yeah. So, but I did want to
mention. We can drop off. Yeah.
Yeah, I did want to mention real quick before I go. Well, first, thanks for as always my review buddy. It's always a pleasure. But poll is at 100%. So 14 votes, 100%. I don't think you can get more convincing than that. But
Certified
yeah. So, yeah, right. I don't know what we're gonna call that, but thanks as always. I think we're doing this again, right? Every Sunday. Is that the plan, Brian, or what?
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean,
all right. So
does your prognostication engine from Escafone see otherwise?
No, I want, dude. I'd love to. We had talked about. We'll talk about it later. So I know we talked about doing the whole season, but we'll talk. We'll talk off stream. I think I'm glad we have something fun to talk about here. Hopefully continuing on. But I think I think the episode 4 prediction is probably right. If we can get there, we might be onto something. So.
And I feel this is a great time to close the stream. Anyways, we've been at this for 2 hours, so
okay, cool.
So you know what, Salty, Prophets, Pips, Lyle, thank you guys for joining me to talk about this first episode of House of the Dragon, and
absolutely,
thank you, chat. Thank you, chat, for coming by. So so Jeff P, thank you for subscribing, and of course it was nice meeting you. Press B for Balefire. So thanks for staying the whole time. Nice to meet you, Fiaz Hussein. Of course, Punk Waddle is Punk Waddle. I gotta be nice to Punk Waddle because he's awesome.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And heck, we even got this new guy, Cole. I wonder if it's Kristen Cole. So thank you guys for coming by, Dan Crane, and everybody else. I'm gonna go Gilligan's Island, say all the rest, because I'm a jerk. So
can I just be part of the breakdown next time? I was so jealous listening to you guys talk about this episode.
We'll talk about it. So but other than that, everybody, let's have a good evening. Take care. Stay Nerdporial. May the wings of Nerdporials carry you to the next episode of House of the Dragon.